What does uplifted spirit mean? It means sweeping away lethargy and becoming invigorated, which indicates an increase in energy. Why is the spirit uplifted? Because they have encountered joyful events. This means that as long as one encounters joyful events, their spirit will be uplifted. Conversely, if one encounters negative, ugly, false, worrisome, fearful, bad, or unlucky events, their spirit will not be uplifted. Not only will it not be uplifted, but it may also cause the spirit to become lethargic and even collapse. This reveals a key insight: if we want to reach the 1000 energy level, we must consciously seek out joyful events and consciously avoid encountering negative events. Positive thoughts: always maintain righteous thoughts and focus on beautiful things. Never harbor evil, sinister, or lustful thoughts. Positive thoughts invigorate the spirit, while negative ones weaken your energy level and are akin to self-destruction. Jesus' teachings like, "Pray for your enemies," and "Forgive others," warn us not to destroy ourselves. The intention to harm others first harms oneself. Such thoughts should be avoided at all costs. Eliminate thoughts of revenge. In life, it is inevitable to encounter situations where one is bullied, oppressed, or exploited by others. While there is a common saying, "A gentleman takes his revenge," even if it takes 10 years, those on the path of Lifechanyuan are enlightened enough to understand that such thoughts are self-destructive. These thoughts have a vibrational frequency of only 30, a state of illness, and a terminal one at that. Never harbor thoughts of revenge. For dealing with bad people or enemies, follow Lifechanyuan values: entrust your life to the greatest creator, entrust your life to the management of the Tao, and focus on moving forward toward the light. Do not worry about tomorrow. The frequency of fear and worry is around 100, which is also a state of illness. Worrying about tomorrow weakens your energy. Concerns about aging without support, illness without money for treatment, children being unable to find spouses, being deceived, or survival are all forms of self-torture. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges. Worrying is futile. Instead, follow Lifechanyuan values, chase the sun, and you can escape the darkness. Stop self-blame. Gold is not pure, and no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes in life. Once they are made, they are made. It's never too late to mend. Regret and self-blame are useless. Only by revitalizing your spirit and contributing more can you compensate for your shortcomings. Regret, self-blame, guilt, and shame have energies below 30, which are life-threatening emotional states. Erase the past self, reformat yourself, and create a new you each day, moving towards the brightest and most ideal state. Avoid anger. The frequency of anger is only 150. Anger primarily harms oneself, which is a foolish emotion. Learn to forgive others and use Lifechanyuan values. The world is faultless. All faults lie within ourselves. To calm your emotions and joyfully accept everything that happens to you. Focus on beauty. Look at all beautiful things, read high-energy books and articles, and avoid looking at ugly things and reading low-energy materials. TV and movies should not be watched indiscriminately, and books and articles should be chosen carefully. Anything filled with low energy should be avoided, as it will lower your energy level. For example, horror movies induce fear and drop your energy below 100. Stay away from anything that induces sadness, anger, discomfort, despair, or fear. Instead, admire beautiful landscapes, blooming flowers, clear streams, blue skies, and white clouds. Appreciate beautiful people, gentle and cute animals like puppies, kittens, lambs, and deer. Enjoy symmetrical and fresh artworks and watch cheerful characters like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. Focus more on truth, goodness, beauty, love, trust, and sincerity, and less on falsehood, evil, ugliness, hatred, cunning, and chaos. Listen to pleasant sounds, enjoy all melodious tunes, music, the sound of wind and rain, reading, singing, bird calls, flowing water, laughter, and affectionate voices. Avoid listening to sounds of shouting and killing, street vendors, arguments, scolding, car horns, machinery noise, harsh sounds, crying, complaints, painful groans, and wailing. It is said that pop songs have low energy, so listen more to timeless classic songs and tunes. Create a high-energy environment. Hang landscape paintings or calligraphy such as the Ode to the Humble Room or the Heart Sutra in your room. Cultivate elegant potted plants, place artistic items, and keep your living spaces clean and orderly to enhance your energy. Engage in uplifting activities, music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and appreciating the beauty of plum blossoms, orchids, bamboo, and chrysanthemums can effectively elevate your energy. Whenever possible, let these activities accompany your life. Practice simplicity, opt for a vegetarian diet, reduce meat consumption, embrace simplicity, reduce luxury, choose a refined style, avoid extravagance, seek calmness, reduce agitation, own less, contribute more. Associate with high-energy people, spend time with those who bring you happiness, freedom, and hope. Engage with spiritually advanced individuals. Avoid people who make you uncomfortable, those who are aimless, gossipers, complainers, cynics, those who complain of imaginary ailments, and those who obsess over money. Avoid associating with people who are overly mystical or eccentric. Stay away from those who are stubborn, easily provoked, or who constantly lament their circumstances. Engage in joyful activities, participate in games, entertainment, dancing, singing, and light-hearted flirtation. Avoid fighting, gambling, and manipulative activities. Limit involvement in political and religious activities, as well as motivational talks. Spend more time in nature and less in markets, bars, and supermarkets. Respect ordinary people more, and bow less to powerful figures, celebrities, or the wealthy. Limit online time. Spending too much time in online groups is detrimental. The longer you stay, the more confused your thoughts become, and the more time you waste. Reading too many online articles can cloud your mind. 95% of online content lacks energy above 200, so it's better to read classics and thought-provoking works that inspire and enlighten. Focus on inner qualities. The level of a person's energy is not strongly related to their education, experience, power, status, wealth, or fame, but is closely linked to their beliefs, intentions, spiritual realm, motivations, words, and actions. Therefore, focus more on your faith, thoughts, spiritual motives, words, and deeds, and less on education, experience, power, status, wealth, or fame. Cultivate positive qualities, maintain rationality, understanding, compassion, reverence, peace, joy, serenity, and bliss. Revere the greatest creator, worship gods and Buddhas, respect life, and be in awe of nature. Engage in romantic and intimate activities. Romantic relationships, affection, and sexual activity can raise your vibrational frequency. Hold the hand of the greatest creator, invite Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, and Celestial Laozi into the palace of your consciousness. Worship and honor them. Strive for enlightenment, continuously work towards the eightfold liberation state. The above are just a few details for climbing to the peak of life and life. Great achievements are built on attention to detail, and small streams merge into great rivers. While paying attention to details, don't forget the 3 major checkpoints I outlined in How to Climb to the Peak of Life and Life, namely, building your soul garden, repaying debts and resolving worldly attachments, and accumulating merit. Focus on both the big picture and the small details, and in this way, you can reach the peak of life and life, achieving the sacred state of 1000 in energy level. A blind spot in superstring theory. Xiefeng. October 24, 2005. If we consider the quantum field theory as one leg in a pair of pants and the general relativity theory as the other leg, then the superstring theory would be the waist part trying to connect them. Einstein's general relativity mainly discusses gravity and holds that it does not exist but is the result of the curvature of space. It assumes that space itself is smooth and flat, but when celestial bodies of great mass such as the Sun appear, they cause it to curve inward. It is like pressing hard on a girl's round and smooth face with an index finger, which breaks the smoothness and forms an indentation. The geometric deformation of space gives rise to apparent gravity which defines it from a macro perspective. With regard to a person or a stone, its mass is too small to deform space any noticeable amount, thus microscopic matter has almost no apparent gravity. The problem with microcosmic matter is that its space is not smooth and flat, but is filled with countless, flying particles which are unable to curve space to produce gravity as huge masses do. The movements of microparticles have nothing to do with gravity, they are the results of electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force. Quantum mechanics appeared when general relativity failed to explain the source of these three forces. Quantum mechanics studies fundamental particles at the microcosmic level. Whether large celestial bodies or grains of sand on the beach, all matter is made of hundreds of types of fundamental particles with masses close to zero but whose trajectories change unpredictably with no rules to follow but are always in motion. Motion is not caused by gravity, but by the three aforementioned forces of nature being converted from the particles. Electromagnetism is converted from photons, the strong force is converted from gluons, and the weak force is converted from bosons. However, the conversion of particles cannot generate gravity, therefore, the quantum mechanics does not explain gravity. The macroscopic world and the microscopic world are unified integral, but general relativity theory which can explain motion at the macroscopic level and quantum mechanics which can explain it at the microscopic level, are not fully compatible. An overall description of the universe can only be had by combining these two seemingly contradictory theories, and this mosaic theory is called the superstring theory. This superstring theory believes that matter is made of molecules, molecules are made of atoms, atoms are made of electron shells and nuclei, and the nuclei consist of protons and neutrons which are made of quarks. What are quarks and electrons made of? Scientists believe that both are fundamental, point, particles which have no internal structures and cannot be divided any further. Superstring argues that these particles do not really exist, but are only strings in motion in space, and a variety of different types of particles are formed by these strings vibrating differently. All interactions between matter and energy can be explained by combining and separating strings, but strings do not move in normal three-dimensional space. Rather, they move in a high dimension of space which is beyond our imagination. Our traditional ideas about space are wrong because space has more than 3 dimensions, maybe 10 or even 26 of them. If this sounds confusing, consider the following scenario. An ant crawls into a shallow pit. It climbs out and goes further until it falls into a deeper pit. It climbs out and continues to go until after some time, it drops into a sand pit. It climbs out, but eventually lands inside a mud pit. These 4 pits are totally irrelevant to the ant which simply comes across them by chance. Living on a 2-dimensional plane, it cannot see the interrelation of the 4 pits, let alone know that they may be related integrally. What is the reality of the situation? These 4 pits are footprints left by an elephant as it ate. 1 foot stood on hard ground, another stood on soft ground, a third in sand, and the 4th was in a pond of rainwater. So there are the shallow pit, the deep pit, the sand pit, and the mud pit. That is to say, the seemingly unrelated pits are actually integral parts of a whole. It is only when we think beyond our 2-dimensional plane to include 3-dimensional height, 4-dimensional time, 5-dimensional retention information, and 6-dimensional space movement and so on, that we begin to understand how these unrelated pits are integral parts left by a single elephant. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, and the weak force are our 4 pits, but they are actually parts of a whole. Superstring theory was conceived to explain their integration. Superstring is the most promising theory to unify our understanding of fundamental particles with the interactions of the 4 forces. Superstring holds that strings are the most basic units of matter and that all fundamental particles such as electrons, photons, neutrinos, and quarks are different vibrational states of energy strings. Superstring combines the 2 major basic theories of the 20th century, general relativity and quantum mechanics, for the first time into a mathematically self-consistent framework. Superstring has the potential to solve long-standing problems that have troubled physicists, including the nature of black holes and the origin of the universe. If experimentation confirms it, then our understanding of the structure of matter, space, and time would change fundamentally. The prospect is tempting and theoreticians are struggling with it, but it seems ridiculous and childish to me because of some major blind spots. They are: how have these strings come into being? How do they move? Could they represent the origin of the universe? How can a unified field theory of the universe be established when the origin of the universe is still unknown? Only Lifechanyuan can answer these questions. A cloud of fog about nature. Xiefeng. November 18, 2019. The universe is a stage for nature, and everything and all phenomena are nature's dances. The true essence of Buddhism is, an enlightened heart is perceptive to nature, perceptive to Buddha. The main theme of the Bloodstream sermon by Master Bodhidharma was that nature, same word as sex in Chinese, is Buddha and Buddha is nature. Without the perception of nature, all teachings of Dharma are demonic talks, and all practicing of magic is demonic conduct. The sixth patriarch, Huineng's The Platform Sutra, says, "Who would know that our nature, essence of mind, Tathagata, suchness, is intrinsically pure? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from becoming or annihilating? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically self-sufficient? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from change? Who would have thought that all things are manifestations of our nature?" From this point of view, we should follow our nature. If so, willfulness is right and the wayward person is dictated by willful nature, but reality tells us that willful people cannot become immortal or Buddha. To follow one's nature, but not be willful, is a contradiction. This is the fog about nature. Let's take Jiao Yi, Lixian, and Tianxin as examples to analyze willfulness. Jiao Yi is weak-willed, Lixian is medium-willed, and Tianxin is strong-willed. Weak-willed people have their own cognition and ideas about everything, and they always include contradictions and conflicts with Tao. They always want things to develop according to their own wishes, but because they have awe in their hearts, they are still willing to yield even when they are unhappy. Therefore, they can still walk on the way of Tao. Medium-willed people know that they are wrong, but they have strong self-esteem and easily drift between Tao and the mortal trail. If their self-esteem is well protected, they can merge into Tao. If their self-esteem is damaged, they will deviate from the Tao and move toward the trail. Strong-willed people are desperate to act according to their own wishes. Although they might know that they are wrong, their emotions exceed their rationality and they are unwilling to comply with Tao, let alone succumb to it. Wayward people have generally been spoiled since they were young and have experienced too little frustration in their lives. How does one escape from this nature fog? All speech and behaviors are caused by the trends of nature, and nature is the strongest driving force. Let us observe everything in nature, the loftiness and erecting of mountains, the fickleness and flowing of water, the birth and growth of plants in spring and summer, the fighting and killing of animals, and the fighting and robbing in the human world, all are the deductions of nature. From this point of view, following one's nature and willfulness are both not only problematic, but also dangerous, just like wolves, insects, tigers, and leopards following their natures, and kudo, vine, vitex, and thorns that are willful. From this, the sixth patriarch Huineng's, who would know that our nature, essence of mind, Tathagata, suchness, is intrinsically pure, who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from becoming or annihilating, who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically self-sufficient, who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from change, who would have thought that all things are the manifestation of our nature, are also problematic. The self-nature is not pure, it has birth and annihilation and it cannot produce everything. Follow one's nature, but what kind of nature? The nature of a devil or that of Buddha, the nature of beasts or that of humanity? Willful, but to follow what will? To follow the will of nature, or to follow that of self, to follow the collective commonality or individual's personality? If you want to become a cat, then you must catch mice when you see them, otherwise you will not be a cat. If you want to become an immortal, then you must follow the immortal nature strictly, or you cannot become one. A cat is not a cat if it is compassionate when it sees a mouse. An immortal is no longer an immortal if his or her heart moans and laments when he or she sees marriages and funerals or weeping and crying in the mortal world. In order to become a Buddha, one needs to perceive nature, but must not follow one's nature and be willful. If you want to go to heaven, then you also need to perceive nature, but you must not follow human nature and be obsessed with the debauchery of mortal life and the passing clouds in the physical world. Absorption of non-material energy. Xiefeng. October 13, 2012. All life relies on energy to exist. Without energy, life